have an update. Cop found guilty for the murder of Sonya Massey, even though many in law enforcement said that this was justified, including Officer Tatum on his simple-ass YouTube page, called it justified when he came on this show. A jury, the partner of the cop, and others said it was, in fact, murder. Here's a reminder.
The body camera video reveals the events leading up to the horrific scene.
What took you so long to answer the door?
Oh, I was trying to put on some clothes, sir. I'm sorry.
You doing all right mentally?
Yes.
Sure?
My medicine and stuff.
All right. Okay.
I love y'all. Thank y'all.
Inside the home, Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson can be heard asking Sonya Massey to check on the stove.
We don't need a fire while we're here.
Within seconds, things become tense.
Where you going?
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
I rebuke you in the name of
God, I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Massey starts to set down the pot and apologizes. Grayson fires 3 times, striking her in the face.
Headshot wounded female, 1078.
Prosecutors say Grayson's partner tried to give the 36-year-old first aid, even though Grayson discouraged him.
His partner followed protocol all the way through. His partner testified that he was afraid of someone that night, but it wasn't Sonya Massey. It was, in fact, his own partner. Why would the cop be afraid of his partner? Because he saw his partner commit murder. That's the reason he's afraid. I want to remind you of how Grayson responded or acted after killing Miss Massey. Here it is.
That she was going to rebuke me in the name of Jesus and came out with boiling water. That's what all this is. I was standing right here.
All right.
And that's where he's landed.
What do you all need from us?
Just nothing right now. Just hang out there for me. Thank you.
I need cranks to put them around the house if you guys can. But other than that, that's I think it.
Anything else, suspect?
Me.
Oh, I didn't know what happened.
You got any questions?
Yeah, I'm good. This bitch is crazy.
Sean Grayson's partner, you see him here in this court sketch, is telling the jury tonight that Massey never seemed to be a threat that night last July.
His name is Deputy Dawson Farley, and he basically was immediately questioned by prosecutors. He was a witness for the prosecution about Sonya Massey and his feelings about what she did when she had that pot of water. They were asking him things like, were you nervous based on what she was doing? He said no. They said, were you worried she was going to hurt you? He said no. Then he went on to clarify that he was indeed scared that night, but not of Massey. Instead, he said he was scared of his partner, Sean Grayson.
Put it up. Full mass. In an update, a jury has found Officer Sean Grayson, former Illinois Sheriff's deputy, guilty of second-degree murder in the fatal shooting of Ms. Sonya Massey. Grayson had been charged with a total of 3 counts in connection with Massey's death: first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and also official misconduct. He pleaded not guilty to all counts, his attorney told ABC News. The jury, made up of 9 white women, 1 black man, and 2 white men, said he was guilty. County Sheriff's Deputy Dawson Farley, who responded to Massey's home along with Deputy Grayson, took to the witness stand on last week and testified that Massey did not appear to be a threat. Quote, "She never did anything that made me think she was a threat." End quote. Dawson said, quote, "It was essentially the defendant's actions that raised my sense of awareness," Farley said of Grayson. During his testimony, Farley said that he wanted to, quote, "do right by Massey." by testifying for the prosecution in this case. I want to back up just for a moment. What the officer is saying under sworn testimony is that he saw a murder take place. The killer happened to be his partner. And he's doing the right thing by testifying for the prosecution in order to do right by Ms. Massey or to serve justice in this matter. I can appreciate a truthful testimony in the day of the week. But until we get to a space where Deputy Grayson is arrested by his partner on the spot, we still got a whole lot of work to do until we get to a place where when Grayson pulled out his weapon, the partner pulls out his weapon on Grayson. Why are you pulling out your firearm on this woman who's turning down boiling water? Now, until we get to those spaces, there is no celebration because Miss Massey is dead. And there is no verdict that will bring her back. The prosecution played Grayson's partner's body cam footage of the shooting in a monitor, causing multiple family members of Massey to cry. They also had to leave the courtroom, understandably so. According to WICS, Grayson leaned forward over a table, not watching the monitor. One juror appeared to cry as she watched the footage, holding a notepad up to her face in an attempt to hide behind it. That's according to WICS. Following the 7-day trial, the jury was given the option of considering second-degree murder, according to ABC station WLS in Chicago. Grayson's sentencing is set for January 2026. He could be sentenced from 4 to 20 years in prison or be given probation. The jury was instructed not to deliberate on the lower charges. Let's put them up. We got Ben Crump. We have Antonio Romanucci. Attorneys for Massey's family said in a statement Wednesday that the, quote, verdict is still a measure of justice for Sonya Massey. They added accountability has begun. And we now hope the court will impose a meaningful sentence that reflects the severity of these crimes and the life that was lost. We will continue to fight for Sonya's family and for reforms that protect everyone from unlawful use of force. I'm going to highlight something in that video. When you have a moment, you can go back and listen to it in its entirety. But it breaks your heart when you hear it. When the officers first arrived, Ms. Massey says something. She says, "I love y'all." She says, "I love y'all." That's how she greets them. As they are walking inside of her home, there's no warrant. They don't have a right to be there. She's not the target of an investigation. What did they investigate? She called the police for help. They are there to protect and serve her. Instead, she gets murdered. At least the wheels of justice are moving in the right direction, but obviously, this shouldn't even be a story if we did not have out of control officers in jurisdictions across this nation. All right, Yasmin, thoughts here.
Yeah, something that's so sad about these stories is that I remember reading about this case, and I think I was even on this show discussing this story when it first came out. It's hard to keep track of these incidents, though, because they happen way too often. Like, how often is someone who is just innocently at their home sleeping, doing whatever, not being a threat to anyone, how often is their home invaded by the cops and then they're killed, right? Like that sounds like such a ridiculous scenario, but it is happening way more often than it ever should. What doesn't happen often enough is that these people are held accountable, that these cops are found guilty of the crime that they committed. And as you said, like this should have never gone to such lengths. It was so obvious what had happened there. But like you said, any kind of justice in the right direction is something that we need to be celebrating because we want to see more of that, right? We can criticize the way it was done. We can say, here are ways that it could have been better, but we still need to celebrate that this was the right thing that was done. It doesn't bring back the victim, but hopefully it can help prevent further victims from this type of violence in the future. In the meantime, we still have the issues with these cops, right? There's the qualified immunity, the reasons why they think that they're safe to behave this way with people, to go so far as to take people's lives, to traumatize their families, to take mothers away from their children and vice versa. And they have very little fear of any kind of retribution. And that alone is a huge, huge problem, especially when you consider, the people who become cops, like they're not, as far as we know, they're not being vetted as far as like, are you racist? Do you have racist tendencies? Do you look down on people? Does power go to your head the minute that you have a gun in your hand? Because the answers to a lot of those questions are probably yes. And the reason why I say they're probably yes is because we keep seeing incidents like this one, incidents that people don't like to say that they're always racially motivated, but it's really hard to argue that they're not sometimes, especially when you just look at the trends. We look at the people who tend to be involved on the wrong side of these incidents, and we look at the people who at the cops,
Yeah.
And also like the fact that, you have these people, they interview for a job, you give them a job, and then they're giving deadly weaponry, and then they're given deadly force, and they're told, do what you got to do to protect yourself, and don't worry about it. You're not going to go to jail if you have to shoot somebody. Of course, that's going to go to anybody's head. Most people would have a hard time not letting something like that go to their heads, not letting something like, shooting somebody become normalized, because that is the environment and the atmosphere that they're working in. It's an atmosphere where that type of violence, that kind of responses, they're not necessarily celebrated, but they're definitely excused, right? They're definitely normalized. They're not punished, like maybe they would say, what? You had an incident out in the fields, then maybe take some time off for yourself, maybe go talk to the therapist. Like maybe these things are happening, but if they are, that is good, but they're not happening enough, because at the end of the day, we're still losing innocent people to these cops who don't know how to control their emotions, their anger, their triggers, like whatever it is, whatever they are doing, it's not enough. We need to stop these things from happening in the first place. I'm happy for the justice, but let's do more. Let's keep going.
Well said. Ithaca, New York, years ago, under a very progressive, remarkable mayor. Ithaca, New York decided, well, if we review all of our 911 calls, 51% of those 911 calls were actually social in nature, like getting the cat out the tree kind of stuff. And so they decided for every officer that they let go, or every officer that resigned, they would replace that officer with an appropriate social agent rather than cop, in order to create congruency with how people are utilizing 911 in their community. Brilliant idea. Worked fabulously well. In addition to that, they also mandated their officers to have ongoing psychological evaluations, something that most police agencies do not do. The cop you hire on day one is not going to be the same exact cop on day 365. And we need to know that, just in case there's something that can be done prior to a Miss Massey being killed or murdered in front of another cop. All right, we'll bring you updates on the sentencing as it develops.